Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us in the Families as Partners in Early Childhood Education chat room with Synovia Moss and Jessica Namaste. I am Anna Januzzi, and I work at GMF on our Development and Philanthropic Services team as a DPS specialist. I want to welcome everyone to this conversation and especially thank our co-hosts, Synovia and Jessica, who are understand opportunities for families as partners in the early childhood education scene. I want to mention that we are aiming for a conversation that shares accurate information and is fair-minded and solution-oriented. I would also like to ask that we respect each other's voices and that we kindly do not speak over one another. I will do my best to make sure that everyone has a chance to speak if they wish. If you would like to join the conversation, locate the icon that looks like the little people in the upper right corner of your screen, locate your name, and click on the camera button. This will let me know that you're requesting to come live. You may also write me a message in the chat function to let me know you wish to participate, and I will gladly connect you to our conversation. Otherwise, please feel free to drop questions or comments in the chat function, and myself and our co-hosts will address those accordingly. We are also recording this dialogue so the foundation team can revisit promising ideas and policies that may be levers for change. Again, I invite everyone to use the chat function to communicate your questions, comments, and requests to join the conversation. And as the conversation unfolds, we may be inviting some of you to participate on screen. Feel free to decline if you do not wish to participate. I also should mention that my colleague Joseph Brooks is attending this breakout session and taking notes and perhaps providing additional context from our work at GMF and alongside Milwaukee Succeeds. And before I turn it over to our co-hosts, Joseph, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I don't think so. Thanks for getting us started, Anna, and thanks to Synovia and Jessica for joining us, as well as everyone else in the chat room or in the conversation today. So let's get started.
Thank you so much, Joseph. And on that note, Jessica, I will turn it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us in this very important conversation about families as partners. My name is Jessica Namaste. I am the HIPPY Program Director at COA Youth and Family Centers. HIPPY stands for the Home Instruction for Parents, Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters. So we partner with parents to prepare their children for school. We work with parents of toddlers, and we do home visitation. I've been in this position for about 10 or 11 years. And prior to that, many other home visiting and family empowerment programs in the city of Milwaukee. Our co-host today is Synovia Moss. Hi, Synovia.
Hi, Jessica. Great to see you again virtually. And good morning, everyone. I'm Synovia Moss. And first, I want to say thanks to the Greater Milwaukee Foundation and to Milwaukee Succeeds for your continual efforts to pull our community together to have these very important and vital conversations, and especially the opportunity to talk about early childhood education. I come into this space wearing many hats, but most notably in the work that I've done with the brain development across the years, and have had an opportunity to not just do it locally, but nationally and globally now. And when I say that, this is very important to us, the importance of the first 5 years, but we couldn't do this work without families. And so thank you for the opportunity to talk about the importance of families. Currently, I'm the CEO of Moss Consulting and Management Group, and we manage large-scale initiatives. And we're in a unique space right now in that we're helping families to navigate the COVID response as it relates to early care and across the whole spectrum, K-12 and everything. So, but this morning we wanted to really delve a little bit deeper in the conversation that our opening guest had in regards to the importance of families. And so what really struck me that was very poignant was a statement that Rianne Evans-Alvin made when she said that families don't work if children don't have developmental and high quality experiences. And these experiences have to be both consistent and reliable. So we're going to open up our conversation this morning, beginning with, why do families as partners in early childhood education matter? Why do families matter?
going to start randomly asking people if they'd like to join in on the conversation. Please feel free to accept or decline and participate and join us in this conversation. Thank you so much.
Well, you're on mute, Anna.
Novia, you think I'd have a hang of it by now. I would like to, I see a question in the chat from Sharon who says, I would like to explore any volunteer opportunities. They are a former MPS special educator as well as past birth 3 special ed teacher at Penfield. Do you have any comments on how they might be able to support and volunteer?
Well, one of the things of the outputs from this wonderful morning together is that GMF is putting together a resource guide, and it's our understanding that additional inclusive in that resource guide will be volunteer opportunities. So look for that coming from GMF. And you don't have to wait for GMF. I think there are schools, there are childcare centers, there are opportunities. So many nonprofits during this pandemic are in need of additional hands. And as we know, hands, heads, and hearts. So if you have the opportunity, reach out to those that you feel most comfortable with and try to volunteer if you can.
It's very important. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to read up that we have here. How can we ensure families are at the table when decisions that impact them are being made?
Jessica, you want to take that one?
Well, I mean, that all depends. That we have to rely on the agencies and programs to make that a priority. And I believe that many places around the city are doing that and have been starting to really make that a priority. And we need to choose to invest in those programs that are making that a priority. You know, we need to include parents on our advisory boards, on our committees, on our planning councils. And many places are making seats at the tables available and making parents a priority. Because the parents, the families are the key stakeholders, right? You know, it can't just be the civic leaders and the funders making the decisions for the people. The people need to tell us what they need.
One of the things that Dr. Sherry Stewart said in her comments was the importance of, at the very beginning, going and working with families into the community deeply entrenched, where families have an opportunity to give voice to their issues and concerns, so that we go in, we listen, we go back, we revisit what that means, and then we really include them in the design. And I think that that was just such a wonderful quote when she said quotes, not, I couldn't remember the last part, but it is really hearing their voice and hearing what they said and really understanding what they wanted. Thanks, someone. Thanks, Anna. Quotes, not notes. It was wonderful. If you think about it, that resonated because that's so true to hearing their voice in their way and not from our lens or our viewpoint. But we're going to continue this chat and this conversation. And again, if you all have any questions that you all would like to talk about, Laura just said, can you talk a little about the parents who are at the table now? Is there a network already in place, or is it something that is needed to build from the beginning? Parent voices are important. And I would say that it's a combination of both. I think that as we are looking at these new opportunities that are existing in the ECE community, that we want to bring new people to the table and also think about those programs that are phenomenally established, like a HIPPY, where you have just a good group of a long-term systemic connection with families. You want to include them as well. Jessica?
Yeah, the important thing I think in trying to include or being intentional in including the voices needs wants, interests of families is making sure that the timing and structure is accessible to families. We cannot expect people to necessarily come to a noon meeting like we would have a traditional board meeting. Maybe we have to have it at 6 p.m. and provide childcare and a meal, and maybe a gift card for gas. We have to be thinking about all these challenges that some families have to overcome to participate. As many people may want to, there are factors that may lead them to not being able to physically come and have their voice be heard. So we have to keep that in mind, and make those incentives or the different factors. We have to eliminate some of those barriers.
So on the table, this is really our opportunity to hear your voices and to hear your concerns and to hear your feedback. And one of the things that I'd love to ask the question back to the group, is to ask, who's not at the table? Who are we missing? When we think about and talk about families and want to have equity in our conversations, in our programs, and our actions, can you please put some things in the chat, or if anyone's willing to talk about, who do you think is missing at the table? All right, Laura's asked to have her camera on.
I am bringing Laura into the conversation here.
Mhm.
Laura, you might have to click accept. Oh, here she is.
Hi, sorry, I'm just getting acclimated with the platform. This is Laura Glaue, and I'm really interested in what you're talking about with getting parent voice at the table and doing things like providing incentive. Milwaukee Succeeds has talked about how important it is, and the civic action team in Milwaukee has talked about how everything needs to shift and be built around the parent perspective, which I really agree with in large part. But the challenge of getting parents together, is just, it just feels like something we haven't seen in other sectors that we have to do to this degree. So I guess what I'm wondering is, does there need to be some type of policy support for funding to help incentivize and support that? Or, where would the resources come from to make sure that we're getting that parent voice included? Is that something that, is yet one more onus on the centers themselves to try to get their parents engaged? Or is that philanthropy's role? What do you think?
Well, I'm a proponent of trying to utilize the resources that are available to you, because some of this is really speaking to and listening to what their needs are. For example, if you have the majority of your families that may have more than one child in the family, so you're juggling, 2 kids, you are trying to make ends meet, you want to be inclusive, as they've shared. All parents want what's best for their children. It may be that we would have to adapt and create a Google survey or record, informational sessions so that they can look at it on demand. I think that what some of the things that we've learned through the pandemic is that we have to make shifts in the way that we deliver the goods and the services and the information as well. So I don't necessarily think that it may be conducive to more dollars, although it is always welcome to have parent engagement dollars, additional dollars that are available to help parents with some of the things and to incentivize them. But I think that on our end, there's some things that we can do creatively as well. And I think that we'll learn that as we listen to them.
Yeah,
I
thank
think,
you.
of course, always, as always, from working in nonprofit, is utilizing community resources. Getting donations for dinners or getting gift cards as donations from, different local businesses or corporations. And also just changing our expectations of what it may look like Synovia was talking about. It may not be a sit-down meal and whole event. It may be Zoom meetings. It may be small groups. Maybe we can only get 3 parents at a time on Monday at 6, and a different 3 families on a Saturday at noon. And it may not be 25 families all at one time. And it may be having meetings in different neighborhoods, at different community centers or libraries. It's just thinking about where do we meet the parents that makes sense and is most accessible.
Thank you. So Anna, we're not able to see how many we have in the chat, but I'd like for us to we're going to do a quick activity so that everybody can be involved. So everybody has to answer question number 2. So number 2 question, what are current efforts that you're aware of related to families and early care that you know are successful and that are working in our community? So if you could just take a second, everybody think of one wonderful program that is working for families. And then we'll have a conversation about some of those. We put everybody to work. I always wanted to be a teacher. Okay. Anna, you can tell us what's coming in?
Nothing is coming in yet. No chats yet. I am requesting some people turn their camera on. It seems like we have a little bit of a quiet group today. That's okay, though. While we wait for those to come in, if you don't mind, I can ask you both another question.
Sure.
That's okay. Okay. In your careers, have you seen any specific models for family engagement that work well? And can you tell us more about those?
Well, we both have great programs. I can share with you the love that I've had for the project working with Room, which is brain building opportunities for parents with children 0 to 5, having the opportunity to do it at the state level. But we also had the opportunity to do it at the global level, where we launched a film called Brain Matters, and it launched in 27 countries. And you can go out on YouTube and watch it. We're almost at 1 million views for this, but it really gives a global view of the importance of brain development for 0 to 5. And one of the things that we did with families across the globe is that we hosted popcorn nights. And so we sent them family movie night boxes, and it had treats in it and popcorn boxes and popcorn, so that the family could sit at home and really enjoy and understand the importance of this. And then they were able to complete a petition that went to the UN for that. So, we can find things and really scale it up or down, but just hosting a movie night and giving them family boxes where they can just have treats and just enjoy it themselves is so much, stress that, we miss going to the movies and taking the kids out. So you have to bring the movies in. So that was one of the things that we did.
I have a quick follow-up for that. Synovia, perhaps you could you tell us a little bit more about the differences you see by state, area of the country, globally? You're in a unique position to see this work happening across geography. So I'm a little interested to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, one of the things that I agree, and we hear it over and over, and we know inherently all parents want what's best for their children. And so we really work hard to say, if you know better, you'll do better. And so it's that intention that we really try to help parents to be very conscious about. I would say state to state, one of the things that we see is that no matter what the demographic sector is or the economic strata, that it doesn't matter when people and parents, especially when we see a lot of single parents, when they see that learning is everywhere and you teach them that skill set, they get excited and they will continue to do the work. And it really helps them to understand and really get that presence about themselves, that I can do this, that I can, teach, my child can learn, I can, everything is these opportunities around me that I can make the best of a really sometimes bad situations. So we've seen that whether it's in, urban, rural, suburban, it doesn't matter. I think that that time is that great equalizer if you know what to do with those first, 1,825 days between 0 and 5.
That I really appreciate your feedback on that. Jessica, I have a question for you now. It sounds like much of your career has been in the community working with families. What sort of things do you think families are uniquely positioned to share that will improve quality of education?
What they have the ability to share, which they don't often realize, is that they know their children's strengths the best and are the best advocates for their children, and oftentimes don't have that confidence to be able to perform that advocacy work for their children. And so it's up to some of us in the community to build that confidence for these parents. Oftentimes they may have had not the greatest experience in their own educational life. Maybe they didn't even finish school. Maybe they didn't even finish middle school. Maybe their literacy levels are low. And it's difficult for them to feel comfortable walking into an educational schools or educational setting of any kind and speaking up for themselves and their children. But they know when their children need help. They know when their children are succeeding and need to be recognized or advanced, and also when they need support. So it's up to some of the programs out here that work with families to strengthen the parents and boost them up so that they can use their voice that they have the voice, but some of them need to let that come out, and we need to help them do that.
Jessica, what tips do you have for families feeling confident and advocating for their kids, especially within schools not as engaging?
So sometimes it's up to the parents. It's often up to the parents, especially in some school settings, depending on the situation, to advocate and to create the space for themselves and other parents. Parents, I've seen it happen many times throughout, my experience, that will start parent groups at schools, that will start book clubs, that will start having a homework club after school in the park with just 3 other parents and their kids, that will grow into something that becomes sponsored by the school. Sometimes we have to go back to grassroots, organizing and planning and developing our own programs with families. If the system is not allowing for that, we got to make it happen.
And adding on to that, what changes have you seen in Milwaukee during your career?
Well, that's a really big question. I would say in the past 10 years, in my personal experience and where I work and the families that I work with, which is about 400 or 500 families a year throughout the city, I have seen people grow. I have seen people's confidence develop. I have seen not only the children that we work with, but the parents also really understanding their role as, their child's first teacher, and understanding that they can make a change, and starting to be involved in more programs and being less isolated, which I think is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. Synovia, is there anything you'd like to add on to that?
Well, this topic today is about families as partners in early childhood education. And I know that this is a topic that's near and dear to everybody. So whoever came into the chat room, we know that we're preaching to the choir. One of the things that I just wanted to share some resources, family resources that I've heard about that help centers and schools connect to their families to really deepen that engagement with them. Schools, I've heard about Chat and Choose, where you are offering types of information and subject matter topics over lunch, dinner, a meal, just giving parents that space to kind of just sit and listen and digest the information that they're receiving. We know that they're intentionally administrators are intentionally having what's called office hours and letting, trying to help parents to understand that they're accessible to them. And so they have these drop-in sessions where it's not about, I'm coming in and talk about what's wrong with my child or what's going on with the teacher, but just one of those, how are you doing kinds of sessions. We are hearing about family free resources bulletin boards. Those are really hot right now, where parents are able to post information. If you hear about something, that's wonderful. Free is my favorite word. So I know when I was raising my daughters, that was something that I always looked for. So, those are just simple, fun, inexpensive things that you can do. I've heard about during the pandemic, drop and shop boxes, where they place a box where it could be toys that your children are not using anymore, clothes that they're not using. So it's really creating that space and grace for people who are in need and may not want to speak up about what they need. So just fun ideas that, you can be really creative, but the goal is to make that family or that parent feel as though you understand what's going on. We see the need. We see that they may not necessarily speak up about, but you can indirectly still support parents through your actions and the kinds of things, programs that you deliver. So there's just, if again, we really want to make sure that it is the engagement. I always, I jokingly say to people, I'm tired of community engagement. I want to get married. So I'm just thinking that we really want to make sure that we make people know that we're committed to your success. We're committed to your child's success. We see it through in the classrooms, but we want it in the family structure as well. If I may, if we could, I see some things in the chat. It says, our national guest shared a lot with us today. What were some of your key takeaways? Mine definitely was quotes and notes and the reminder that parents want what's best for all the children. They were excellent, excellent presenters this morning.
I see a question here from Sydney Key. They're asking, how can expectant and new parents become engaged before their kids before their kids are of school and daycare age?
So that's something I was going to mention when Synovia was just talking. It just reminded me that it was a topic I wanted to talk about, that family as partners doesn't only just mean, us as community providers and resources connecting as partners with families, but it's also families partnering with other families and deepening their connections with each other. And there are many options that in Milwaukee that I'm aware of. One, even just besides my program, mine, we connect our families together at our family nights monthly, but we also have a new app for our program. And in that app, all of the families can chat with each other throughout the week of activities that they're doing in the program. And they can chat about anything, any parenting issues, anything that's coming up. We also have Facebook groups now all over the place, different parenting, mommy groups, daddy groups, all those kinds of things that are really helpful. People end up sharing resources on those Facebook groups, becoming friends, making play dates. There's also family resource centers. COA, Youth and Family Centers, has one at our River West Center on 909 East Garfield, which is hugely successful. Parents of children 0 through 5. So people can come there with a brand newborn or with, and their 4 and 5-year-old, and it's all free. There are science activities, literacy activities, cooking classes, STEM activities, and just free play, which is almost more important than all of the other activities that are provided, because it's about that community building. It's about the families supporting each other, connecting with each other, sharing resources, but also just bonding about their life experiences. And we have found in that program that just that time, getting out of the house, reducing that social isolation, making those connections has been beyond, we can't put a number on it, basically, of how valuable it is. We have people coming from Grafton to River West. We have people coming from Bayview to River West, from Brookfield. It is that important for those connections to be made.
And also, when we think about expecting a new parents and their engagement, This is where we really want to continue to talk about the importance of health and nutrition, the importance of immunizations and being on schedule, the stability that, Dr. Sherry Killen Stewart talked about, that interconnectedness and making sure that you have good housing and transportation and healthcare and just all of those things that help stabilize the family so that, both the parents and the child can be successful. But there are just so many resources that are available. And again, it's having conversations like today to know that you're not alone in this, especially as new parents getting ready to engage in early childhood education.
Thank you both for that. I'm going to give us a 5-minute warning. We actually have about 4 minutes left until we embark into until the closing remarks. I would like to ask just another question about, excuse me, I got all these little boxes popping up over here. How do you think the pandemic has changed ECE long term, and what are families looking for now that they may not have been in the past?
Jessica, you're a little closer to that.
I think it's changed things because we had to shift the manner in which we provide many services. Of course, we still provide early childhood education in the classrooms, which has been challenging just with COVID and having to close sometimes and having to reduce hours to increase cleaning and those kinds of things. But besides in the classroom, we had to shift how we meet parents, how we talk to parents, how we provide assistance with technology so that they are able to understand Zoom, so that they can get email addresses. A lot of our parents didn't have email addresses before COVID to even get on any platform to have a conversation. So it was trying to assist them with those kinds of technical assistance and making them comfortable at the same time with using them. And they stepped up to the challenge, no doubt.
There are significant dollars available to cities and states as part of relief and building funds. Do you have any thoughts about how those dollars could support ECE and families?
I'm that's not my world, pretty much. And I don't really want it to be my world is the money side. But there's definitely, because I have a lot of opinions, but there's definitely ways that those dollars could help increase the accessibility of early childhood programming and support systems, especially through the cities like Milwaukee, and not everywhere, but I mean, there are areas, especially in the city of Milwaukee, that need extra support because there are no resources. And those funds could go very far. But yeah.
I would say one of the things, two outputs from the pandemic that is relevant to us right now is that the pandemic helped us, I think, everybody to really understand that mental health is not just an adult issue and that it affects even our early learners. And with that, I know that myself, I've been paying more attention on the policy side to see where are the dollars, where is the help, where are the resources. So not just for buildings, but everything across, what makes early childhood center successful or the industry successful. Those things are very important to me. And I think I've become more of an advocate that I'm willing to just really reach out to a politician or follow legislation because it really matters, and a family success begins, I always say kindergarten begins in the womb. So we might as well really, if we're saying we're really care about what's best for our children, we have to be about it from the beginning, all the way from legislation to graduation.
Thank you both for that. Do you have any closing remarks either one of you would like to make before we head back into the closing remarks with Sue Hila?
I just want to say thanks. What a great opportunity to continue to host and continue to work with both the Greater Milwaukee Foundation and Milwaukee Succeeds. Many may not know that since the beginning of the pandemic, Danae Davis and the whole team. It's just been, we've been at the meeting every Friday, I think for 30, 40 weeks. And it's just wonderful to watch the commitment that everyone has toward early childhood education. So thank everybody for your commitment to our field.
Thank you, Synovia, and thank you, Jessica, so much for your time and your expertise today. I know I'm walking away with a lot more education about what's going on in this sector moving forward, and I really appreciate that. So with that, I'm going to stop our into closing remarks. Thank you both again so much.
Bye, Jessica. Thanks.
Bye.